Chris, the Club Nut here, at Lancaster Indoor Golf in our small build shop here doing minor repairs. Today, or yesterday, somebody brought in a 7-iron. Seems to have a tiny problem. Okay? So when I go to reshaft golf clubs, I want to make sure that everything matches the set. It's very rare, unless somebody, gives me fits about it, doesn't care, that I'll just take a shaft out, put it back in, make it standard spec. Fortunately for me, the client also dropped off their 6-iron. So what I can do is I can measure everything off the 6-iron, I can measure the loft lie, I can measure the swing weight and the length, and make sure that their 7-iron matches the set perfectly when they're done. So first things first is I got to take everything apart. I've already measured out the swing weight. So we've got to get head off the shaft. So first thing I'm going to do real quick is just heat up the ferrule a little bit. Got a nice little hook blade here that I use when it's warm to just kind of get in there. Not quite enough. Okay, not going to melt it, but I don't like some of the things I see online. These guys, they use enough heat to basically set things on fire and then they wipe it off with a towel. I'm not really into that. First of all, the fumes will get you, and secondly, I don't really want to damage the club. It's kind of a process to repair something. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're not fatiguing metal, you're not really doing anything that's going to hurt the club in the long run. So with these kind of false bore throughs, they have a little plastic part at the bottom, so I want to make sure whatever heat I'm using and whatever I'm using in order to take it apart doesn't damage that. So I like to use a nice tiny little pin torch, keep my heat right where I want it. I'd say 6-7 seconds or so, or something like this should be fine. Wait a couple, and then just start cranking down on it. There we go. Okay, in this case it's already broken shaft, so I'm not really worried about twisting. And make sure I get it as clean as I possibly can right off the bat. Now, something that's in here, I see the weight for this club has gotten stuck at the bottom. So there's two ways we could do this. We could normally try and heat it up, but like I said, these have a little tiny kind of plastic false bottom to them. We don't want to heat that up and ruin that. So what I'm going to have to do is get a little tiny drill bit, drill that out, and use a puller, a very, very tiny puller, to get that out of there. So now that we've removed the weight from the head, the next part of this is to get a grip off here. This person looks like they may have just had it regripped, so we don't want to charge them for another grip, and this work is all included anyway with the reshaft process, so we can go ahead and pull this off. I've got my grip remover syringe here with the bottle. Went ahead and put it in an inconspicuous spot, and we're just going to pump some solvent in. I like to use this method rather than the bar to stick in there and just kind of twist around, because it tends to, first of all, work faster, be a little easier on my body in general. I don't rip my shoulders out, and it doesn't really ruin the grip. There's a little tiny hole in the back. Technically, I guess you can only do this once, but you don't really see it. The rubber closes it up. Okay, make sure nothing squirts out at me. And we just pull the grip off just like that. We have his new grip ready to put back on when the time comes. So now we've got everything apart. This is where we say like and subscribe for part 2, I guess, when we get the shaft in and put it on. But something I wanted to show you is something that I find quite often, actually, in longer clubs. Now, I measured the 6-iron before that the customer left, 39 3/8 with the cap on. Basically, that means they cut it to 39 1/4 without the grip. So we're going to basically go down a 1/2 inch to 38 3/4, and we'll get that in with the grip on. It'll be 38 6/8 or 7/8, something like that, to make it a progression. But what they had here is where I'm getting at, is an extension in their clubs. So Obviously, these were clubs that were either bought off the rack and then extended, which is super fine. There's nothing wrong with extensions. Some players don't like them. They feel like it makes the club either, depending on who you ask, feel stiffer or looser under the hands, depending on how these extensions are done. But not a big thing. I'm obviously going to tell the client when we get there, say, hey, just FYI, you had extensions in them, but the new club is going to be cut to length. It's going to be custom, so there's going to be no extension underneath. I may even call him, depending on if he's particular or not, to see if he wants it cut down to standard and then re-extended so that everything kind of feels the same. But little things like that are why I like doing this. And this is really kind of how you want to do it. You don't want to know don't want to not know what is going on in your golf club. So yeah, subscribe for part 2. See you when that happens.